Welcome to episode 4 of the Jeff and Jersey podcast.
We do reactions and post-game analysis of the NBA.
I'm Jersey.
I'm Jeff.
And to start episode 4, we go through some recapping of our picks from Monday's episode. We look where we went right, where we went wrong. We compare our two picks because we went head to head there. Then we get to some of our next segment, which is our most surprising teams, the teams that we're most disappointed in. Then we get to we're going to show some more bench guys off, show some good performances from guys who came off the bench.
Yep, and then we're going to interview one of our good buddies here, Declan, who's also a Celtics fan, and kind of dive into the problems that they're having, and then finish up with a fun game at the end.
Yeah, new segment, game at the end, underrated, overrated, or just right. And we'll have some basketball stuff in there, and then also some fun stuff that is just a different, just
random.
Yeah, just a little game changer, just to change the tone of the podcast. But also something I'm really excited about is that these guys, Jeff and Declan, went to the Wednesday night Orlando versus Celtics game. So we're going to have some guys in here talking about the Celtics offense, their defense, the transition game, some of the coaching things from their own eyes, not just the TV, not just the broadcaster's point of view, actually from their own eyes. So we're really excited. And what do we got to remind them to do?
Like and sub.
Thank you. We're starting episode 4 off with recapping our picks from Monday's games. And the first game we did was Raptors versus the Knicks on NBA TV.
We both picked the Knicks going into this game, but obviously we were a little disappointed.
Yeah. Raptors, got some great performances from OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr. They had 36 and 26 each. That was just a huge game for them. I mean, obviously you're losing Scotty Barnes, who is been one of their most surprised, not most surprising because we all knew the talent was there, but one of their most productive, one of their best players. So they're losing him. They come in, play the Knicks, who have been on a pretty good tear lately. Beat the Bulls, beat the 76ers, things like that. And so for them to come in and just perform that way and beat the Knicks, it was huge for them. Then on to the Knicks side, RJ Barrett is becoming a star, 27 points. He's had a great last week. Julius has had kind of a shaky week, but this was one of his best games of that little slump that he's in. He had 22, 9, and 5. But the Knicks' problem, and the thing that's going to win the Knicks a lot of games, is their bench.
Yes. When you got Derrick Rose coming in and playing against guys that are either tired or some bench players, because he's better than 95% of the bench players, you need him and Burks to come in and produce, and that way you can. It seems like the Knicks have a lot of games where their starters are out for a long time because the bench comes in and does so well.
The bench unit for the Knicks is huge because it takes us to that next level. Anytime we're head to head, like you said with the team, they come in and get us a 7 or 8 point lead. Anytime Derrick Rose is scoring in the 6-7 point range, it just doesn't feel like the bench gets the production, because when he's putting the ball in the hole, then they start suffocating. Then Burks and Quickly and guys like that get their looks and their shots, but that bench runs through Derrick Rose, and I think he ended up with 7 points in that game, and so that's not enough. He's playing 20 to 25, maybe a little bit more than that if he's hot, minutes a game. We need 12 to 13, 14 points from him because the offense on the bench runs through him.
Yep. Next,
we move to the Bulls, who played the Celtics on League Pass. We like to pick our own teams. We like to go through those games because those are the games we have the most knowledge about. So we had this one, even though it was a League Pass, it wasn't a live TV game. And I picked the Bulls.
And I picked the Celtics, which looked good through 3 quarters.
Yeah, guys just didn't finish. Tatum's been off a little bit. He shot 8 of 22.
Shooting 38% from the field this year to start.
Yep, and he's just we'll dive into more Celtic stuff later, we said in the intro with Declan and people who have seen it with their own eyes and things like that. And I have some questions prepared for you guys, and we're just going to kind of work through their struggles and what we need to fix.
Yep.
But I will shout out Horford, double. The last 2 or 3 years where he's looked obviously in Philly he didn't look as good as he did.
Right.
That wasn't really a good team fit. Mm-hmm. And then in Oklahoma City, he played great for a while, but then they shut him down because they were trying to tank and things like that. Horford looks like Al Horford. He's going to bring great passing. He's going to bring very underrated defense. Like, obviously, he's leading the league in blocks. Yeah, leading the league in blocks. So he's going to always be a better defender than, like, what he physically looks like.
Right.
Like, he isn't a super vertical guy. He's not Miles Turner or blocking shots off the middle of the backboard and things. But he's always going to be a versatile defender. But how about DeMar DeRozan?
He's been on fire recently. He's looked like their best player because Levine has had a thumb problem, and in this game he didn't look good until the fourth quarter. I don't know if he made a three, but like he got into the lane and finished some stuff that made up for it. But DeMar was unstoppable. He's hitting threes now, like taking them more consistently.
Even, I watched a podcast this summer. I think it was DeMar and like I've brought up JJ Redick a lot. I think it was their podcast. And somewhere in there, he said, I can take threes, but why take a three when I can get a two? Right. And so now that he is taking threes, I think he's always had the skill. Yeah. I just think that his skill set has been so based on getting the most efficient shot for his skill set, you know? So, like, you know, I can shoot 50% from 18 feet, but I can shoot 35 or whatever from 24 feet. Why not just get there and get the 50%er? Right. And so that's what I've noticed with him is that his game has opened up so much more now, especially with a unselfish big like Vucevic, who was 1 assist off of a triple-double, 11, 10, and 9. Yeah,
he's just such an underrated player and complements them so well. He's just
doesn't need the ball.
Just fits to that like low-key, not selfish at all, like kind of team that they have in general.
Yep, and I think that like a Levine game where he has 26 points, doesn't shoot the ball well, is shown how good he really is because it's a game like you said. We wouldn't even consider that a good game from him, and he's getting 26 now. Right. You know, that's the level that he is scoring the ball at is where, you know, we look at the box score or watch the game, and it's like, you know, he was 8 for 20 through the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter he was 5 of 9, and you're just like, oh, okay, he turned it on and really started putting the ball in the hole. And he's a guy where in an instant, you know, he could have 25 in just a moment.
Right. Yeah, that fourth quarter was tough. All the Bulls played well. There was a stat: the Celtics didn't get a single defensive rebound in the fourth, but the Bulls only missed 2 shots.
Yeah, and we'll break that down a little bit later. Next, we got Nuggets versus the Grizzlies. This was also a league pass game. We split on this. I took the Nuggets.
I took the Grizzlies in that one. I feel like it's a good matchup for Ja, but I mean, obviously Jokic is Jokic and gonna do what he does. But he had only 23, 7, and 7 in this game. And then how you wanted to bring up Michael Porter Jr.
So one of the big things, he's only been taking like 9 to 12 shots. This is Michael Porter Jr. He just signed that huge extension. I just feel like they need to incorporate him in the offense more. I go into this a little bit later in the episode, but just wanted to like bring that up now that he's only taken 9 to 12 shots a game, and I just don't think that's enough. But then on the other side is Ja, who seems to be getting 25 a night, like easily. Every single night. He's averaging we saw that stat, the most points in the paint per game of any player.
And it's like
he gets 2 feet in the paint.
With Giannis.
He gets 2 feet in the paint, and it's either a layup, a corner 3, or a bucket. Right. And it's like that offense is just so efficient. Yeah. And I don't see, you know, the Grizzlies, I wouldn't say they're doing more with less, but there's only one star out there. Right. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a good player, but he has nights where he has only 10 points. He has nights where he has, you know, 18, but I'd consider a star getting more than that or doing more than that. But they have one star out there, but he's so efficient in what he does offensively, coming off that pick and roll, getting 2 feet in the paint, bringing everyone in. They have shooters. They have like the right pieces around him.
Yeah, and we've talked about like with him in the past, like watch like Derrick Rose highlights from now, and it just feels like he's playing that way.
And like, I also think that it's a little bit the evolution of the game. So he has the capability to play like Derrick Rose, but also everyone knows now that you can't make a living above the rim. Right. As a guard. You can't make a living as a 6'2" guard dunking on people. So now we see him playing off 2 feet like we mentioned in the episodes before. Yep. Getting to that jump stop and the kickouts and the floaters and things like that. We see him like incorporating that a lot more, and obviously he does the crazy layups and all of the nuts stuff that just like us like normal humans
are like, how is that even possible?
How does he float in the air that long and stuff? Species? But he's been great. Obviously Ja's been awesome, and like I said, with the right pieces around him, they had 43 bench points, which is 43 bench points in the NBA is a recipe for success every night.
Yes. If you get that, you are at least
That's two
close.
good starters points off just your bench. So.
Exactly, and they haven't even had Dylan Brooks for the season, and that's crazy because he's like arguably their best defender and was like awesome in the playoffs.
Well, and above average 3-point shooter.
Yep.
And great defense. It'll take some pressure off that backcourt on the defensive end, which if Ja doesn't have to play as hard on defense, I mean, there might even be another gear, which is crazy. And so I'm excited to watch the Grizzlies some more League Pass stuff, watch how that team works out. They're a fun team.
Yep.
Next, we got the Wizards and the Hawks, and we both took the Hawks on this one, even though the Wizards were 5-1 coming into it and the Hawks were 3-3. I just felt like the Hawks overwhelmed them in this one. 7 players in double figures, which is that's just a great stat for a good team.
Anytime you get that, it's going to be tough to beat. And then they had 3 with 6 assists or more, which is kind of crazy.
3 players on a team with 6 assists or more means that there were 3 guys out there creating offense the whole game. To get 6 assists in the NBA is not easy. You got to have 15 to 20 possessions with the ball in your hand going downhill.
Yeah.
They're really spreading the ball out well. And that's kind of the thing we've seen with the Hawks. In the playoffs, they can get pretty Trey ball screen heavy because of how talented he is. But when he goes off the floor, we saw Bogdanovich, Hunter's guys like that.
Awesome.
Hunter was great in that game. And so we'll see. This Hawks team has the talent to just be one of those teams that's 7 or 8 deep with 6 or 7 good ball handlers. Reddish coming on now and things like that. And so they're a deep team, and they just kind of overwhelmed the Wizards with their depth. Beal is still struggling from 3.
Like a lot of players are.
Still got 24 because, like we said with Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal is still that player. He'll still get 25 even on a bad night. But we just wanted to note his shooting struggles. He went 3 for 11 from 3.
Yeah, you're not going to win games when your stars doing 3 from 11 from 3, especially when other guys struggled too. Like, that's just you're not going to win games doing that.
Yeah. The Wizards are a team where they need the 7 or 8 guys in double figures or close. Maybe they
need like a big game from Harrell and then consistent production from the other guys and then be able to have 30.
Yeah, and they could still win 35 to 40 games for me because they have the pieces to have 7 guys get 10 to 12 and then a couple like a 20 point per game score. But it's got to be consistent. It was just an off night for them.
Right.
Then we moved to Tuesday. Tuesday was some good games. First, we saw the Heat versus the Mavs on TNT. We both took the Heat. They're the hottest team in the NBA right now, and they got the win over the Mavs. So we both got the point for that one. And we want to talk about a full team offensive production. The Miami Heat in that game had 4 people with 20-plus points, which is, of any NBA, that is a winning formula in the NBA.
Yes.
4 people with 20-plus points.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the game that they had a couple years ago where it's like Jimmy had a 20-point triple-double, Bam had 30, Duncan Robinson had 30, and Kendrick Nunn had like 22 or something like that.
Just a Heat game, good production.
They look like the best team in the East right now. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the Bucks have had their injuries and stuff and haven't gone off to the best start, but as of right now, with the way these other teams have looked, the Heat have looked like arguably the best team in the league.
They're the best team in the league right now for me on a random Tuesday. On a Tuesday where you're just going to come in, you just had a 2-hour bus ride because of traffic from the airport to the arena.
Yeah.
You're tired. The Heat are going to show up the best in that environment. Right. Now, in a Game 7 of a playoffs, I might take Giannis over them. Yeah. Giannis and the Bucks and their championship pedigree over the Heat, or, there's other teams in the league, too, that I would probably take, like Brooklyn, things like that. But in a regular season game on a random Tuesday, these guys bring the most professional approach to the game is what it seems like. Jalen Brunson was great in that game. He had 25 points, 10 of 13 shooting, and he's just one of those like super underrated players. He's super crafty, left-handed. He's a little smaller in stature, so people don't really think of him as like a good guard in this league, but he has been every year I see him take a step. Yeah,
you saw glimpses of it last year. He'd have great performances off the bench, was in the starting lineup with no Porzingis, and along with Luka, who had 33 points, he was great in just like scoring for them because the bench only had 21 points, and you're just not going to get that done. But it's also tough when Brunson isn't like running the second unit the whole time that they're in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, they need Porzingis to be healthy to be a good team.
So, do you think Brunson when you put up 25 on 10 and 13 shooting, do you think he's a guy that you have to keep on the bench to carry that second unit, or is he too good to sit on the bench? Is he a starting caliber player in this league, or what is your thoughts with their like rotation and things like that? Should they have started a guy like Block maybe off the bench and then kept Brunson on the bench, or what do you think with that?
I think for a lot of other teams, it would be a guy that you might have to start, but with the Mavs, they just don't have enough shot creation for him to be starting.
Especially with guys like Trey Burke sitting, or like he got hurt and things like that.
I think he needs to come off the bench for this team.
Me too.
Like, just not getting consistent production because their bench doesn't have a lot of shot creators.
Yep, they only had 21 bench points in this game. Yeah. Obviously, because Brunson started, he's their main bench scorer. But when you only have 21 bench points, that tells me that you didn't have much either bench minutes, which it's the regular season, so you probably got a good amount of minutes off the bench, or you don't have good creation off the bench, which is why I think you need to keep him. Like, he can play 32 minutes a game when you have injuries.
He just needs to run with the second.
Let him come in at the 5-minute mark in the first and have a 10-minute stretch where he can like run the offense where Luka's resting and things. That's what I think is their recipe to get back after a game like that.
Yep, I agree with that.
Next is the night game on TNT. It's the Pelicans versus the Suns. We both took the Suns in this, and the Suns won because Chris Paul was just amazing.
Yeah, he had 18 assists and 7. Just kind of a clinic that he put on, especially in the fourth quarter. It was kind of close going into the fourth, and then Chris Paul just put the Suns away pretty much. This game, Booker shot 7 of 20, which he's still continuing struggling.
Yeah, he's just not putting the ball in the hole as like usual, or as effortlessly as what I've seen in the past, and especially in that finals run. I don't know if it's the short off season like we've talked about on this podcast,
it's not just him struggling.
The new ball. Maybe it's just like some things like that are messing with players like Beal, Booker, Dame, Tatum, all those like shot creator types. Yeah. I don't know if it's just the early season. Obviously, I'm not going to blame it on a rule change, but the game is being played at a different pace, different style now.
How most of these guys who are struggling played in the Olympics?
Olympic guys too. No, that's true.
They could just have not had a long enough off season, and then
might just be like at a weird. Maybe they didn't have a chance to really get better, like refine some skills, so they kind of rested throughout the off season, and then they're coming back a little slower now and stuff. I didn't even take that into account.
Yeah, I realized that as soon as we started talking about it. It's like all these players that are struggling.
Drew Holiday's hurt, played in the Olympics.
Like, I mean, obviously, like
injury
KD isn't struggling, but KD doesn't struggle
ever. He never has. And then the last note we have with that game, the Pelicans are struggling right now with Zion out. They don't have enough depth. They're starting guys like Herbert Jones and people like that, and they just don't have quite the bench power to win them consistent games. But Valanciunas he's probably my most underrated player in the entire league right now.
Right.
Shooting the 3 ball. He's a threat to score in the post every time he catches it. He's a very willing passer, and he's one of the best rebounders in the league.
Every time I look, it's like he's got 20 and 15 or something. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, honestly. But, I mean, obviously, those rebound numbers might go down when Zion comes back. But still, I think the points per game still has to be there, I think, for them to win.
Plus, I think that coming into the season, I was like, yeah, Valanciunas is going to provide you some floor spacing for Zion. But now it's like a real thing. Yeah. Like, I was thinking, like, he might hit a 3 a game or whatever. But
it's been
now
consistent.
He's like, when he comes in, his guy is going to have feet outside the paint at least. So then Zion's lanes are going to be a lot more open and things like that. So I think that might be like one of my top additions of the offseason if they kick it into gear when Zion comes back and actually make a run.
Right. Assuming Zion's healthy and in shape, if they continue it, like, on the come up once he comes back, then that's like a perfect addition.
Yep. Next we got Jazz Kings. That was a league pass game. These are 2 of our favorite teams to watch personally, just because of the personnel and some of the guys. Obviously, we've talked a bunch about the Kings. We love the Kings. I love Buddy Hield, Davion Mitchell, Halliburton, Fox, those guys. But then the Jazz have been just awesome to start the year. This is as good of a start to their season as I could have predicted. Right. Obviously, you can predict them to go undefeated to start the year, but this is as good, as a team has looked in the NBA. They're probably my number 2 right now to the Heat on any team I don't want to face on a random night.
Yeah, and Conley and Mitchell combined for 66 points in this game. Conley looked like awesome in this game.
When Conley's healthy, this team is a championship threat.
Yes.
Because it takes the ball out of Mitchell's hands. He can become more of the shooting guard, you know, instead of having to run that point role. Conley has been just awesome the way he, I'm not going to say he revived his career when he came to Utah, but the way he just extended it. Like, 4 more, he's going to have...
People were like, oh, his career's kind of over, he's going to go here
All-star
to retire.
last year, right? And then this year, he's already looking great.
Yep.
It's just...
If he stays healthy...
He might put 2 or 3 more good years together in Utah.
Yeah.
It's the perfect system. It's the perfect place for his... the way he acts.
It's not like he plays at, like, such a fast pace. The game comes to him.
Yeah.
And if he can stay healthy, then they're in a great spot because, like we mentioned a couple episodes earlier, their bench depth is a lot better.
Yeah.
And with Gobert, he's been kind of a monster so far. He had 20 boards in this game. He's averaging like 18 right now, which is kind of crazy.
They're getting, 30 to 35 rebounds a game from the center position.
Yeah.
Pretty much, like, I think in this game he had 20 and Whiteside had like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And so like, one thing about the Jazz that has always concerned me was the small guards. And then they always play a small power forward, whether it's Royce O'Neal or Ingles or Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
But when your center is just like no rebound is coming to the other, there's no offensive rebounding for the other team because they're just locking the paint down. You can play smaller and faster with more shooters, you can play. Yeah. I'm not worried about the Jazz at all right now.
No, me neither.
They look, every flaw they had last year where it's like they have no replacement for Gobert when they play a small team.
Right.
Now they do. Mm-hmm. Or they're small, so they're going to get posted up in things that you can't because it's Gobert. There's no real way in my head right now that says, boom, that's how you beat the Jazz. Versus last year, I thought, throw 5 guards on the court. Gobert can't play offense, and you're going to do it. But now this year, you can't do that because they'll take him out.
Yep.
They'll put Pascal in, or they'll put Rudy Gay in.
They have a lot more capable guys that can like fit into the game plan. So like those adjustments that Ty Lue did don't work as much.
Yep. Love what the Jazz are doing.
Yep.
Then we're on to Wednesday. This is the last day that we predicted. This was a League Pass game. It was the Bulls versus the Sixers. We both took the Sixers, and they ended up winning.
Yep. Curry has looked awesome to start this season. Yep. He had 22 points. It just seems like he's had another step.
Didn't they trade him for Josh Richardson?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Like, absolute steal. Like, that is...
Oh, yeah.
That is like... Man, the Mavs really got to, like, turn it around with a couple good moves in a row to try and keep Luka in town.
Because
obviously,
this move looks bad.
Luka's going to be there. He just signed the extension. He's going to be there for a while. But, like, these are moves, man, that cost you a star player 5 years from now.
Right.
When you could have him for 20.
I would feel so much more confident about the Mavs if they had Seth Curry on the team right now.
Yeah.
With the way that he's been playing.
And shooting off the dribble even, too.
Yeah.
Yep. Embiid had 18, 9, and 7. It didn't look like he was forcing the issue too much. He was getting guys involved, obviously, with 7 assists, getting guys like Curry the ball.
Yep.
Niang has had a great last week. He's playing
for the criticism.
Hey, I've been telling you, Niang's solid. Now, Rudy Gay and guys like that are better for the Jazz because it's more defensive versatility and things, but he still fits this team because they need forwards who space the floor.
Yeah, he's looked a lot better than I thought he did, honestly.
With no Tobias Harris in there, kind of another spot. He's getting extended minutes than he normally would. And the other thing about this game was DeRozan and Levine, like we said, have just been consistent. 37 points for DeRozan in this one. Like, these guys have been so hot to start the year shooting the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with the other pieces. Williams went down with injury, which is sad. Young guy like that, you want to see him bounce back and get healthy. But this team has the pieces where in a playoff setting where you're only playing 7 or 8, they have 7 or 8 really good basketball players. They do. Next, we got Hawks Nets on ESPN. We split on this one. I went Nets and you went Hawks.
Yeah. Trey shot 6 of 22 in this game, and anytime he does that, they're probably going to lose. He still had 21, 10, and 9, almost a triple-double. But not getting like a 30-piece out of him against the Nets, it really isn't going to work for them.
And one thing I wanted to note in here was Hunter missed 1 shot and had 26 points.
Wow.
And I thought that was crazy. 10 of 11 shooting. He's really taken that step. And, if Trey has a bad shooting night, this Hawks team can still win. Versus in the past, if he had a bad shooting night, very rare that they had a chance to win that game. Just a lot of
people had bad shooting nights for the Hawks,
yeah.
other than Hunter.
Yeah. KD had 32. KD, if I had to predict right now with my life on it, he's going to win the scoring title.
Yeah.
He's not number 1 right now, but
number two,
but he puts up 28 to 30 every single game effortlessly. And Harris had 6 threes.
He hasn't been great to start the year either. Like, he hasn't shot the ball that well, but they need him to be able to take relief off of like Harden and stuff. Just earlier in the year, they're kicking out to him and he's not making threes. And you check and you'd be like 2 of 11 from 3 or something like that. And that's just not going to get it done.
And he impressed me last year because he even took a step, I thought, off the dribble. Like, I felt like
he was a threat.
He got used to people flying at him because now his role on the team was just a shooter.
Yep.
So then he was getting one dribble. So I'd like to see more of that stuff. He'll start scoring the ball more.
Yep.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about that game was Harden. 16, 11, and 4 on 5 of 14 shooting. He still doesn't look like he's got his step back. He still looks slower. He's a big guard, so like we've seen those videos where it's comparing him to other big guards, and when they lost their step, they really lost the next element to their game.
Yeah, he went 5 of 11 from the free throw line in this game too.
Harden, as the weeks go on, every 2 or 3 weeks I kind of want to look back at this convo and rehab this conversation because Harden, for me, it's just going to be 1 week he's going to come out and he's going to be averaging 25, 10, and 7 like he normally does, and it's going to whatever. But maybe it's not, and maybe we need to just have this combo over and over again because he has not looked like he's improved at all. It doesn't look like I'm not going to say it doesn't look like he's healthy, but there's something going on. It's not normal Harden. It's not the same guy.
It's not. You just don't expect a superstar guy like that to have like a noticeable drop off so quickly.
Yeah, like a consistent 29, 8, and 8 last year.
Yeah.
Double-digit assists all the time, running more of a point guard type of role next to a guy like KD versus back in the day he was more of a shooting guard on the Rockets. And now it just feels like he's struggling to get downhill, which is also impacting his assist numbers. And it just doesn't look like the same player.
No, not at all.
The other ESPN game for Wednesday night was the Hornets versus the Warriors. We both took the Warriors in this one. We thought that the home team just had a higher chance to win this one. We also thought that Steph would play better than he did. He had 15, 9, and 8 on 6 of 15 shooting.
Yeah, and then Jordan Poole, whose nickname is now Deadpool.
That's a great one. That's awesome. Because, like, for me, that nickname means, like, if he's going off, you're just dead.
Yeah.
Because if Jordan Poole has 31 like he did, then it's over for teams, especially when they get Clay back.
He looked awesome. In this game, the way he plays is so like fun. It's like it's like sporadic. I think. Yeah. But Steph, like usually when Steph has a bad game, he shoots a lot, but he didn't need to. He only took 15 shots. Yeah. He didn't shoot great, but still, like if you have another guy, once Clay comes back, that can get you 30 on any given night, this team's gonna be dangerous.
Yeah, this team, we already predicted them to win the West. Just our 1 weekend prediction. I still like them a lot.
Yep.
But then you move to the other side, and we got Bridges, who had 32. Bridges looks like a star in the NBA, and this is another thing we got to monitor week by week because when is he going to come down to earth? You know, when is he?
Or does he?
No, I know that's what I'm saying.
I mentioned this. It's like, does he like? Is it like one of those Julius Randle things where it's like, how much longer is he going to keep this up?
He's just a completely different skill set. I've never seen him take so many jumpers. I've never seen him create off the dribble so well. And
just
now
one of those guys that you don't expect to make that big of a jump. Like, it's just a shock, I think, to us and to a lot of people.
Part of it may be that, I haven't watched the Hornets with as big of a scope as I have until this year.
Right.
I mean, last year I watched him here and there and stuff, but you only saw really the highlights, the Bridges, the dunks and the alley-oops and all the crazy stuff. So maybe I was missing the potential there, not watching it as much as I should have. But every sign I've seen is that he has the potential to be an all-star wing in this league. 32 points in that game. He's averaging 25 right now. Yeah. And shooting a good percentage too. He's not chucking.
Nope.
They're winning games. They're staying in close games.
They're competitive.
With good teams. Yeah. Yep. And he just looks like a completely different player. Whereas LaMelo struggled in this one.
Yeah.
He's been off and on kind of this year. It feels like that second year of a guard.
Yep, that's to be expected. Only shot 5 of 14, and then Hayward had 23 in this game. I honestly think that they need the ball to run the ball through him more because he can kind of slow this team down.
Yeah, they're so sporadic.
Like LaMelo, when he gets sped, he clearly gets sped up and is doing trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And then Terry didn't shoot good in this game at all. He was kind of like, I don't know what he shot, but at one point he was like 2 of 12. When those guys aren't scoring like that, you need Hayward to like control the game because he can get you anything from like anywhere, but it just doesn't fit like their pace, I guess, that they want to do.
And I think getting Hayward the ball kind of requires you to cross half court, dribble it for 4 or 5 seconds, set something up, get him coming off a screen downhill, get him the ball in the wing. It requires you to actually waste some clock, run some set, some play versus just racing from rim to rim. Rebound, chuck it down the floor, get an inefficient shot quickly. You know, playing through Hayward, like you said, makes that team a better half-court offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, what I've seen is that they go on these runs, and Hayward is doing a lot, and then once they get back into the game, he just kind of sits in the corner, and they let these younger guys do what they want to do, and then they lose those games. It was like this in this game, and then when they played the Heat, Hayward was great during the run, and they got it close, and then Hayward didn't touch the ball, and then they ended up getting blown out.
Last game we got is Clippers T-Wolves. This was a League Pass game. We really wanted to look at this one because the Clippers have been struggling, and the Wolves are now struggling, but it looked like at the beginning of the year they were going to have like a good little run to start the year. Good depth and things like that. But in this game, PG had 32, 8, and 6. He looks like an MVP candidate to me right now. If this team stays above water and makes the playoffs, he's in my top 5 right now. And then when you get 29 points from like a guy like Reggie Jackson,
if he plays like the way he did in the playoffs, and guys like Terrence Mann play like the way they did in the playoffs, Kennard plays the way he's been playing all season, then this team is a lot better. Bledsoe, other than the first game, has kind of stunk.
I think it's funny. We mentioned on Monday that guys like Jackson and them need to combine for more points. They need to score more. They do. They win a big game against the T-Wolves, that type of thing. And so I think that those other guys, we know PG is going to be PG. He's going to have an off night here and there, but he looks to me like he is as well-rounded and skilled as he's ever been in his career, which is scary because of how good he's been throughout his whole career. And so when you get production like that from the other guys, they're going to beat good teams. And the T-Wolves are a good team. Cat 18-11, Anthony Edwards 28-6. They have good pieces. They just need to mesh and put it all together. Yeah,
and then Cat kind of had like a concerning quote today.
Yeah, that's kind of some new news.
He said like we're on a 3-game slide right now, but we know in the NBA it can turn into 18, 19, or 20 kind of fast. That's not like the mentality that you should be having. You should say, I think we want to bounce back and get back to where we were to start the season.
To me, it sounds like he's like when you say that, it's like, okay, then come out and have a 30-point game against a good team and will your team do a win? Or it's not even like will your team do a win because you need everyone to shoot well. Go in and set the tone in the locker room. Don't sit there and complain and say, well, we could end up losing 15 in a row like
that's
we
what
have
happened
in the
last
past.
year. Like you want to break that mold. You can't be like, oh, well, it could happen. We'll make it not happen.
Yeah, go out, give us more than 18-11. I mean, it's an efficient 18-11, but just go play harder. Like I don't know. And then he liked that one tweet where it said he got hacked or whatever, and his account liked one tweet. That's all the hacker did was like one tweet, and it said "free cat," right?
Yeah.
As if he's the issue here.
Right.
Anthony Edwards, they've surrounded him with great talent, you know, with Edwards, McDaniels, guys like that.
Malik Beasley's been great.
Beasley's been awesome. So
D'Lo's hurt.
Quit complaining, Cat.
Yep.
This season, this is the T-Wolves season to like make themselves a playoff team.
Potentially get into like that play-in scene, and then you
build on.
If you do that, then you just improve much more. And you get that experience.
If Edwards takes another jump, then you're a playoff team, and everything's good.
I did not like that comment at all.
Yeah. So I got 9 right. He got 7 right this week. We'll probably bring this back next Monday. We might just do like the first 3 games, TNT, ESPN, something like that. We'll bring this back in the future. But it's 1-0 for me right now. 1-0. Pretty good. Next segment of the show. We wanted to do something since we're 2 to 3 weeks into this season now.
Yep.
Every team's played near 10 games, whether it's 7, 8, 9 type of thing. We wanted to talk about our most surprising teams coming in, or that we didn't really expect to do as well in our heads, and now they are doing great or had a better start than we would have expected.
Or nobody talked about them and they've just came in and surprised everyone.
Yep. And then we also wanted to talk about our biggest letdown. That's between a player or a team, things like that. For me, my most surprising team is Cleveland. They're 5-4 right now. Ricky Rubio fits their system and their scheme so perfectly. The Mobley defense has been just such a huge factor for them. Right. And then Allen is my most improved player right now.
He's been kind of dominant. This week he had 24 and 16 in the game on Monday, and then 24 and 17 on the game on Wednesday. He's looked like a $100 million player, which they paid him.
Yeah, and he looks like the perfect big to play with those 3 guards. 3 guards is in Rubio, Sexton, and Garland.
Yep.
Very reliable threat to throw it to at the rim.
Yep.
Good rim protector because they aren't the best perimeter defenders, so he's a good rim protector if people get downhill. He's scoring more per game than he ever has in his career, and he's really my most improved player right now, I think.
Yeah.
Who's your most surprising?
I picked Toronto. They're 5-3 with wins over the Knicks, Celtics, Pacers, and Wizards. Those are all quality teams. They've been tough games where it's Toronto kind of comes out and is just gritting more than the other team, and with Scotty Barnes, who's my rookie of the year right now.
Yeah, me too.
He's been awesome. He's been way better than I think anyone could have expected. Because there was a stat, it was he only scored at Florida State 15 or more 4 times, and he's done it 5 times already this season. It just feels like the game comes naturally.
And I also think, another thing to add to that stat is that Florida State played him at the 1.
Yeah.
And I think he's at more of his natural position, the 4 right now. I think he's catching the ball in a more natural, at the elbow, a little bit off the block. He's using his length and skill and things versus having to come from outside the 3-point line and shoot more threes. I think Toronto always is great at putting their players in a position to succeed, and so I think that was a perfect fit for his skill set.
Yeah, OG Anunoby has also been great. Fred VanVleet's had some big games. He's had a 17 assist game, had 33 points the other night, and they're getting Siakam back in around 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And if he comes back in as the player that we know him as, then they could be a play-in team.
That team could easily be a play-in team, upset a team, make that 8 seed, 7 seed, and even if Siakam comes back as an all-star, rookie of the year, all-star, Fred VanVleet, most improved player on that team, coach of the year candidate, they could make a playoff run. I could see this team. My biggest letdown now is Michael Porter Jr., as I mentioned earlier in the first segment of the show. He's only shooting 11 to 12 shots a game. He's averaging 11 points and 7 rebounds on 37%, which is the worst, and he's been in all 3 of those categories since his rookie year when he only played 9 minutes a game or whatever it was.
Right.
And so I just think that the fix to that is more dribble handoffs with Jokic, less spotting up. Get him downhill. He's 6'10". Let him use his length. Get to the rim more. I say it way too much, but I think that the fix to a shooting slump and the fix to not being involved in the offense is find him a way to get downhill into the paint, into the rim.
Yeah, you got to
easy shots, 10-footers.
Even if he's getting into the paint and then kicking it out to people, then that's fine. But it's crazy because his efficiency last year was insane. He shot 62% on 2s and 40% on 3s, and then for him to just be shooting 37% from the field is kind of crazy. He needs to be playing up to the contract that they extended him for.
And I think it's also usage rate. They need to use him more.
Yep.
And
I don't think he should be taking less shots than Barton.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Use him more, get him the ball in his spots better, but also it's up to him to make shots and play better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Your disappointment's Dame Lillard, and why is that?
He has been shooting terribly.
And they're also 3-5.
They're 3-5. He's shooting 35% from the field. And then it's like 23% from 3, which is crazy because it feels like they've been in a lot of close games, but they haven't, like, they can't get over the hump because Dame's not, like, carrying them. Like, even CJ started off great, but even then, since, like, the first week or so, he's kind of, like, his efficiency has struggled a little bit.
But CJ's always been the guy where, I'm not going to say he's inconsistent because he does average 20-plus points per game every year pretty much. But he does have 35, then he has 18, and then he has 30. So, like, he can't carry an offense, but he can be the guy that puts the offense over the top.
Yep.
They need Dame to resume back to what he does in order to be a playoff team like I expected them to be this year.
And they just got Norman Powell back from injury, so hopefully that'll help. Simons has been great off the bench.
Yep, Simons has been awesome. I'm not going to say he's most improved player, but he is having a great year. Like he's
been a great sixth man.
Most improved as in like production wise, but like you got to kind of in today's day and age you got to make an all-star jump to be a most improved candidate.
I agree.
The next section of our show, we're going to go Unsung Heroes Part 3. This is a section of the show that we're going to incorporate pretty much every episode.
Yep.
It's where we highlight 4 or 5 really good bench performances where, you know, someone like ESPN or Fox Sports or someone like that wouldn't really bring it up. We're going to bring up the guys that don't get all of the shine on TV and things like that. First one we wanted to talk about was Gary Payton II. He had 14 points on 6 of 9 shooting in 17 minutes in a win over Charlotte.
And he also posterized Kelly Oubre.
That was nuts.
But he looks like a solid NBA player.
Yeah.
He cuts off the ball well, and he plays good defense.
Yep. That's just the Warrior way. Play good defense, be unselfish.
Yep.
Shoot here and there. He was like I think he was the G League Defensive Player of the Year, which is like no surprise. Things like that, you know, a guy.
He looked great. Yeah. And like if he is stepping up and making contributions, guys like Damian Lee are stepping up, then like we've said, if Clay coming back in this team is like as deep as they are.
If they have like 3 guards coming off the bench that are capable NBA players, it's scary. They're going to be good.
Yeah.
Next, we got a guy that I wanted to shout out. It was against the Celtics. It was Ayo Dosunmu. He had 14 points on 6 of 6 shooting. Just was kind of a weird spurt that he had there where he had, like, I think a couple threes in a row or a couple buckets in a row.
He was a part of, like, the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter run for the Bulls to get them back in the game. And then he came out, and then the starters put it away. But he looked awesome. Yeah.
Very young guy. He's from Illinois, from Chicago.
Anytime he checks into a home game, that he gets
you can tell
pretty good applause.
It's like Obi for New York, but even more because he went to the home university too. So like they watched him make their college a contender. You know, now they get to watch him in Chicago. It's just such a cool thing to watch. Another guy we got to shout out is Boban Marjanovic. He had 17 and 5 in a win over the Spurs, and he's just a treat to watch play. I just love watching Boban. He's 7'5".
It's tough. Like you want to say, why doesn't he get more minutes? Because he can do 17 and 5 in like 15 minutes or something like that, but he's not good on defense because they'll just put him in a pick and roll and it's a bucket every time.
He's just too big and he can't move quick enough to hedge a ball screen or switch.
It's just got to be like a matchup thing for him.
Yeah. If the other team's playing a big, like a Gobert or something, then you can. And I like Boban because the reason Boban's so interesting is because he comes into the game and immediately they just post him up.
Yeah, and then it's like
he's so good on offense, but he just can't keep up on defense, and the transition game is so tough with him. He's you play him at little spurts whenever you can feel you have an advantage to score with, and then maybe the other team doesn't have a great ball handler in to ISO him and pick and roll him.
Right, exactly.
Yep. And then our last unsung hero of this episode is Georges Niang. He had 18 points, and he also had 21 points in 2 wins this week. I think he's been huge with Tobias Harris out.
Yes, he's been great. Looks like he's been definitely more involved than he was in Utah.
Yep.
But he's looked awesome. This Philly team is better than I thought they would be.
Yep, they have more shooting than last year.
Yep.
He essentially replaced Mike Scott, which is like going from
Mike Scott
to a 40
4 years ago.
a 40% 3-point shooter in Niang. we were talking about this already a little bit tonight. He doesn't fit Utah very well because he isn't as much of a switchable defender.
Right.
Like, he can't come in at the 4 and the 5 and play as well. He was still a good shooter in Utah and still did things well. But this team, he fits so much better because they do have 2 bigs.
Yep.
Drummond and Embiid. He can come in at the 3 or the 4, space the floor out into the corners and shoot. He's fit them really well so far, and his production's been exactly where you need it to be to win games in this league.
Yep, exactly.
Next, we're going to talk about the Celtics, and we're going to bring in Declan, and I hope you guys enjoy this section. So, welcome to the last section of our show. This is with our first in-person guest. So, we have 3 people on the set now. Sound's going to be a little weird. It's our first time. We're only running 1 mic in the middle of the 3 of us. But this is Declan. Declan, welcome to the Jeff and Jersey podcast. Yeah, of course. You'll be on here multiple times, I'm sure, throughout the existence of this podcast because you are a Celtics fan. Jeff's a Celtics fan. You guys have a chance to watch them in person like you did on Wednesday. And we're going to get right to it because they are one of the disappointments in the NBA right now in my book. They're struggling to win games, close games, things like that. They have some rumors going around about team meetings that have happened and things like that. So the first thing I wanted to ask you guys is, what is the most efficient half-court offense for this team? Because I feel like that's one struggle that I've seen when Tatum's not putting the ball in the hole. What is the way you win games in the half-court on offense for this team?
I don't have as many questions about the half-court offense because we're 4th in the league in points per game. But obviously Tatum,
a lot of OT games too.
Yeah.
So
obviously with Tatum not scoring, you're not gonna be as good in the offense. It's gonna look a bit choppy. But one set that I've really enjoyed watching is they do a dribble handoff between Marcus and Jalen, and then Jalen comes off of Rob on a screen, and then he gets downhill, and then he's got Rob on his left. And then one thing I've noticed, they don't have a secondary action. It's their first action, okay, give it to Tatum.
Yep. And it feels like, just from an outside perspective, they are moving the ball this year.
Yep.
Obviously, the Marcus Smart quote, they don't want to pass or whatever, was taken out of context. It's more of when the game's on the line, those 2 are looking to get buckets, And so, for you, Declan, I guess I'll ask you this. How important is it that at the end of games, guys like Tatum and Jalen Brown, the guys that are your offensive leaders, are closing games and making shots and getting everyone involved? Being the guys that the ball runs through. How important is that in basketball?
I mean, I think it's very important to always have a guy you can lean on at the end of games. I mean, you always need someone that, it's not working, give him the ball, set him a screen, try to get him open.
Yeah.
I just think for us, it's really important that we try and give Tatum or Brown the ball, and I think a lot of on-ball screens are good because I think for them, they need to get to the basket.
Yeah.
When Tatum's not scoring, shots aren't falling, I feel like whatever gets him back is he goes to the basket, gets a foul, gets a layup, and instantly, he's back in a groove. So I think it's really important for them to try and get to the basket.
Yeah, maybe
and just set stuff up for them where, you set them a screen and then you roll hard to the hoop, so you give them that option with the lob.
Yeah.
Because when they're a threat coming off the screen and they have a threat of passing the ball, I think it's pretty unstoppable near the hoop.
I would just watching from like I said, I'm all outside point of view. I'm not a fan point of view where I don't know this team as well as you 2 do. I don't know every bit, but you guys have 2 very capable passing bigs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to see you guys throw it to them more at the point, and then run more dribble handoffs with your 2 stud wings, because that gets them immediately downhill, and it's a back cut threat, with that handoff and then back cutting it. Yep. 2 good passing bigs. That's my end of game half court offense for you guys. Would be a lot of, try and get Tatum and Jalen Brown an advantage. Yeah. Try and get them a closeout. Try and get them a handoff where they can come downhill. Try and get them an off ball screen. Jalen Brown has turned into one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, I think, off of the catch. Yep. He's shooting off the dribble way better now too. So try and get them some more movement, some more. I hate just throwing it to Tatum at the in the high post. Just throw it to him because eventually in his career he'll become a guy like that. But every offense I think we've ever seen that's just a throw it to him stalls at some point. And so using a guy like Jalen Brown off the ball and things is my personal fix.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Not using Horford and Rob as playmakers is kind of tough because there was one pass I think Rob made in the Rockets game that was just thread the needle, backdoor cut. Like, he has the ability to do that. And Horford is such a smart player that he'll usually make the right play.
I also think that another solution for me with their half-court offense is, and I got this on my thing too, are you closing games with double bigs, with both of them on the court? Because I'm personally not, because I think adding another shooter, if you have, I love the closing lineup of Schroeder, Smart, Jays, and Horford right now. It's Horford for me right now because he's been playing better. I think that is more spacing. I think that you have way more of a chance. Marcus Smart setting screens for Tatum and then a handoff after it. I would love that because of the threat to shoot and things like that. But are you guys closing games with double bigs? I'll start with you.
No, I agree with what you said. I feel like another great thing we do is we do great job at, fast breaking.
Yeah.
So when you throw in Schroeder and Smart too, and you have Tatum and Brown, guys, Schroeder and Smart have been known their careers. They get their hands on the ball. Yeah. They can cause steals. So I feel like when you have those guys late in the game and they're putting on some on-ball defense, they're spreading the floor, they can push it in the fast break. I feel like that's a lot better. Rebounds will come. Tatum can rebound. He's shown that.
Yeah. He's a very solid rebounder at the 4.
Yeah.
And what about you, Jeff? Double bigs? Because I know, and then I'm gonna add an element to this. The no defensive rebounds in the fourth quarter against the Bulls. Is that a product of smaller lineups, or is that a product of the team not getting blockouts, laziness? What do you think that?
I think it's because of our defense. Because we've run like a switching defense, and when Rob is 25 feet away from the basket, we're obviously not going to get rebounds. So I don't have a problem with Horford switching because he has that ability to switch, but I think sometimes it just doesn't work. But I don't like the switching as much as I thought I would have because, like you said, obviously with the not a single defensive rebound, but I mean it's hard to get a rebound when they only miss 2 shots.
Yeah, they were going off. They were going crazy. So.
But I think it needs to be. I don't think it's a big problem. I think it's a defensive scheme problem because if they're 25 away from the basket, 25 feet away from the basket, they're not going to get a rebound. I think the closing lineup is like what you said with Schroeder out there but Schroeder has to be able to shoot threes.
Yeah.
Same with Marcus. At a consistent rate, if they shoot that consistently, I don't think that there needs to be any other closing lineup.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know if Udoka's figured out the exact way to use Rob because it's been like some games he'll have like 14 and 16, but then he'll have like 6 and 4 the other night, and like some like against the Hornets, it was a lot of like lob plays and rolling to the basket, but like last night, the game that we went to, it wasn't a lot of that.
Yeah, and for me, Rob Williams has shown such a potential for that short roll playmaker.
Yeah.
Where late in the game, if they're ever doubling Jalen on a pick and roll, trying to get it, boom, throw it to Rob or Horford at that free throw line, let them create. He throws some, like you were saying, monster bounce passes in the back. And so I wanted to bring that up with how do you use those bigs better? I think Horford fits naturally better because he's a more experienced player and he can do this, he can do that, any other role. But Rob, you kind of have to set Rob straight with this is what you're going to do while you're on the court. This is what you're going to accomplish. My next thing that I wanted to ask you guys is, so this kind of goes hand in hand. Is there a acquisition that makes this team? So in my personal eyes, I don't think this is a championship roster. That's just the way I see it. I don't think that. And now, in 6 months from now, if you guys win a title, we're gonna clip this and post it everywhere. But so Celtics better not win a title. But is there an acquisition? Because for me, Marcus Smart's a good player and he's a guard. But if he's coming off your bench and you have a different point guard in, you're bringing Schroeder and him off the bench. There's more ball handling on the floor. I have a perfect acquisition in mind to make this a more of a contender. Do you have one that you think makes this roster deeper, makes this roster better, or do you like this roster the way it's constructed?
I obviously like the roster. It's a lot better than last year's roster. It's tough to say you want Marcus to come off the bench because of how good he is defensively.
Well, and who's starting over him?
Right.
On this team, no one.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I think Schroeder's better off the bench, personally.
No, me too.
But I don't have anyone off the top of my head. I'm sure if you bring up someone you have in mind, then I might agree with you. But it just comes with player development.
Yeah.
I think
for
the
sure.
Jays have to be better. Rob will get better, and then young rotation guys like Grant Williams, Romeo Langford, Pritchard, if they get better, obviously, just because it's a young team, obviously you have some vets, but I think it comes with player development.
Well, and my other thing I'll throw in, I'm not trying to make it seem like you guys got to go win now. You have 2 under 25, or Jalen just turned 25, or whatever it was, wings. You guys are on a great track to win every year. You're going to be good for the next decade at least with those 2 guys, and then you're always – Boston Celtics are always going to have people around them. So I'm in no way saying you need to win now, but with guys like Horford, who is his days are numbered. Marcus Smart's getting older. He's not old, but Marcus Smart won't be there for another 7 or 8 years. Guys like that. You have a good core and you have a good group. Now it's just one piece. And I wanted to bring up my piece, and then I'll let you react to it. I think Ricky Rubio makes this team just perfect. I think him starting Marcus Smart, the way he's playing this year, if the Cavs are terrible at the deadline, they've been great. They're my biggest surprise of this season, like I mentioned earlier. But if they take a step back and they're not producing the way that, or not even not producing, just not winning games, and they, a contract like Rubio that they don't want on the books, him starting, obviously he won't start, but if he started and Marcus Smart came off the bench, that passing, that we're talking about, the more ball handling, the guy, and he is a better shooter than he's been in his career now.
Yep.
And so things like that, I just had Ricky Rubio in mind because I was thinking a lot about the Cavs. But what do you think a guy like Ricky Rubio does for this team and the depth at the guard position?
So it's tough for me because I really like the roster right now. I love Tatum, love Brown. Love what Schroeder's given us. The shot's been off, but he's never really had that. It's never been a thing to his game, but he's been great off the dribble, finishing around the basket. Like last night, some of the moves, his first step is crazy.
Yeah.
He gets to the hoop so quick. So I love that about him. I feel like the one thing we are missing, though, and I agree with you, is we're kind of missing that ball handling, ability to take the ball up top, facilitate, set stuff up, because I've seen some shots last night. Tatum couldn't get it going. He had good shots. It's just we're giving him the ball in the post, and he's doing shots that MJ and Kobe were getting type of shots. It's just, you know what I mean?
Those are shots that you take, I think, when you're in a heater.
Yeah.
Say you're going into the fourth quarter and you're 8 of 12, and it's like this quarter I'm going to take 8 or 9 shots. I'm going to get the ball in the post and I'm feeling it. These are the shots. I don't want him taking those in the first quarter.
No, I agree. It's tough because I really like it, like where we're at, and I love what Brown's done so far. I just, with Tatum not doing what he usually does, Al Horford's been great. Yeah. Robert Williams has been great. I love where we're at big man wise right now. Yeah. So I feel like Ricky Rubio would be a great piece because we need that person who can get the ball, set something up, handle the ball, keep the ball safe, and be able to get Tatum and Brown open for shots because we have that, and I guarantee you the shot percentages will boost.
Yeah. I think that a month from now we could look back on this conversation. Mm-hmm. When Tatum gets back to shooting 50% from the field or 48 or whatever, it's more natural. We could have this conversation and be like, oh, the Celtics have won 7 in a row because Tatum's now playing well and Brown can now kind of be the guy who's going to go 10 for 18 from the field instead of take 25 shots or whatever it is. The second Tatum flips the switch and gets back on track, this whole conversation could be irrelevant. Right. And this team could be back to a team where it's like they're going to push every single team in the East to at least 7. Yep. They're going to be a great contender. They could win a playoff series. And so this is all just Tatum's playing. Tatum's not playing up to par, up to his standard. And so all this could change, obviously.
Yeah.
The last thing that I wanted to bring up with the Celtics, and then I'll let you guys kind of just go whatever direction you want with this. But I know my stance on when you have like a team meeting, and I know the Celtics have kind of made it sound like, no, this dinner was planned in advance. Mm-hmm. The Celtics had a team meeting, essentially, and the coaches didn't show up till 30 minutes in. They wanted to give the players 30 minutes to talk and do whatever it is you do at a team dinner, And so what is your thoughts on the team meeting? I know the media kind of blew it up, but I think that the coaches don't show up 30 minutes into a normal team dinner. I don't know.
Obviously, we don't know what goes on.
Yeah.
We have no clue.
I have no sources. I have no sources in the NBA. I promise you. It's just me and whatever I read.
But if they're all saying the same thing, I'm sure the coaches were like, okay, maybe we let them like say what they need to say, you know, because I'm sure they talked about the Marcus Smart comments. They've talked about everything, but like give the whole team a chance to talk and figure things out, or just hang out. But it was just interesting that it was Woj who reported it.
Normally he doesn't mess things like that up.
But then with all of
terribly.
them saying that it's like, no, it was just like a team dinner and it's just the coaches came in later. I mean, I don't know what to think of it. Like, I don't think it changes anything. I mean, they came out and won a game.
Yeah.
If they look good against Miami tonight, then maybe it was something that changed.
I think every team has these meetings.
No, yeah, for sure. I feel like first things first, we all know that the media is gonna blow it up. That's how it works with anything. And the team
especially
is always
the NBA is a drama TV show.
You know, that's just what it is. And the team is always gonna take that situation and bring it back and say this, you know, make it so there's no like, you know, the Celtics don't want any problems within the organization.
Especially 8 games into a season.
No. Right. No one wants that. So the team is always going to take what the media said and, you know, kind of sweep it on the table. They don't want that out about them. But I feel like maybe Marcus Smart, you know, did have something to say, this, that, the other thing. Maybe the players did talk. I could, you know. And if they're winning games, I feel like it's good for them to communicate about what they think's going on. I don't think Marcus Smart, you know, if he's like, all right, Tatum and Brown aren't, you know, they're not passing the ball.
And I feel
like he should, you know, kind of like maybe talk to them about it. I don't think it's a bad thing.
One thing I wanted to add into that is that the first time, or like not the first time, but this team kind of imploded a couple years ago with Kyrie Irving and things like that. Yeah. And both the Jays were younger. And, you know, they're like when you're a freshman on a varsity football team or you're a rookie on a basketball team, you don't have you kind of just like stay reserved and stuff. But Marcus Smart has been here through it all.
Yeah.
So maybe Marcus Smart 8 games into this season said, well, you know, 8 games into that one season or 8 games into that one playoff run 4 years ago or whatever, this is the signs I was seeing. Now I just want to sit down and have a conversation with my team instead of ignoring them, you know, and stuff. So I think that Marcus Smart's always been one of those guys that, like, you look at and you're just like, you know, that guy will do anything for his teammates. Yeah. He's diving on the floor for loose balls. He still makes great money, but he's not going to sit there and protect his body. I think anything Marcus Smart does, I can get behind. Because
I agree 100%.
If you're sitting there calling out your teammates, they won't pass the ball is different than they don't want to pass. It's 100% different. I don't think he was calling them out. I think it was more like, this is the state of our offense in the fourth quarter, and this is where it can be.
Yeah, I think I took it as more of like a pass out of situations that you're holding the ball in so we can get easier stuff for you. Because if we're not putting as much pressure on the other team, then they're obviously going to hone in on you guys more. So if you aren't passing out of stuff, then they're not going to take guys like Marcus and Schroeder and guys like that seriously. It's just going to be focusing on Tatum and Brown. Because like there was a picture in the Bulls game and there's 4 dudes within 10 feet of Tatum on the court. Like he's in like the deep short corner and there's 4 dudes with their hands up around him, and he, like, I think it just ended up in a turnover or something. Like, if he can pass that out earlier, then guys can be threats. I think that's what I took Marcus's statement as.
I think another important part of it is that Marcus Smart's been on the Celtics the longest. You know, he's our leader. You know, Tatum and Brown are, like, you know, the guys we give the ball to. But Marcus is our leader. And I feel like, you know, you just look at it like, okay, think of LeBron was, you know, saying that about the Lakers. Everyone would be like, okay, he's right. Like, listen to him. Listen to him. Like, he knows what he's saying. Like, obviously, you know, Marcus is not that guy. But he knows what he's talking about. You know, he dives on the floor. If you were to ask me right now who looks like they want to win the most in the Celtics, I'm saying Marcus Smart for the last 6 years.
Or even like another guy. Obviously, Marcus Smart is a way better player than this guy, but someone who would get, like, the media wouldn't blow it up as much. It is getting blown up because it's Marcus Smart. If Udonis Haslem came to the thing and said the Miami Heat are playing like shit right now, they need to fix that, they would respect it. But Marcus Smart's just at a weird spot in his career where, like, he gets a little bit of a bad rap because of some of his, not his antics, but the way he plays a little bit versus other guys. But it is the same thing as if LeBron came to the podium and said, we're playing bad because of XYZ. We're going to have a team meeting and we're going to fix it.
And it's funny because, like, people call out the Celtics because they're like, oh, Tatum and Brown aren't leaders or whatever, but they have a leader in Marcus Smart. He's going into, like, his 8th or 9th season. He knows what he's talking about with the team. He's been through a 25-win season, and 1 game away from a final season.
And I've already noticed so much more out of Jalen Brown too. Feels like when he gets it going, the guys really surround him well. Like what I've seen when he gets like a hot shooting streak going and things like that, and it feels like he's a little more vocal than Tatum, like just in the way they act to me, like from an outside point of view, just looking in.
Yeah.
And so like Tatum doesn't need to wake up tomorrow and be calling shots at guys and all this stuff. But having a guy like Marcus Smart where, by the time Tatum's 27, 28, he'll be ready for that role.
And I think, like, people just assume, if you're the best player, you have to be a leader. Well, that's not true.
Not true at all.
But, like, with Jalen, too, since Udoka made the comments about, like, his effort and stuff, he's averaging, like, 30 points a game on 58% shooting. He's the 6th leading scorer in the league right now. I think once Tatum gets shot to go down, I think this team will be fine. As long as Udoka continues to learn as a coach and get better with rotations and schemes and stuff, then I think this team will be just fine.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to add into all the Marcus Smart talk and things is I think that like Al Horford's another guy who's just the perfect guy to have on your team to get you out of an early season slump or debacle where you got some weird media stuff. Al Horford's such an even keel.
He takes responsibility. Like Marcus will say stuff, but like Al is like in the Bulls game, he was like, they got to the basket a lot. That's on me or whatever. And there was this quote from someone on Twitter that's like, someone's like, if Al Horford said to me in the middle of a hurricane, man, this water would be really good for the grass, I'd go along with it.
Yeah.
So it's like
he's just a guy, and it's perfect because, like I mentioned earlier, with like Marcus Smart is gonna have a couple years, and then Tatum and Brown can take over that leadership role. It's the same thing with Rob. Yeah. Rob's gonna have another year or 2 or 3 maybe now with Horford in front of him to learn and see the way a true pro goes about his business and such. And so I think the Celtics are in for a great future and things, but it is nice to come like kind of sit down and just talk through like what is it that they're struggling with, because they are struggling to win games. They're having close games when they maybe shouldn't, or they should put a team like the Bulls away and things like that.
You never want to see your team start 2-5. I mean, but personally, I think we don't change anything. I think we just keep growing as a team. I love Al Horford. You guys were just saying that. I mean, he's been there, done that. He knows. He's been on a team that started off like that. He's been on winning teams. He's done everything. So I really like having him, bringing him back. I mean, he just kind of brings that veteran that we need on the team. Marcus Smart, I think he should just, keep being a leader, because he works hard, and I feel like he kind of brings an aroma of just getting everyone around him to kind of work hard too. And I feel like, 2 weeks from now, we'll be sitting here saying, all right, the Celtics are on a roll, Tatum shots dropping.
Just like what I was saying. It'll turn around. The Celtics will start winning games. I projected them north of 500 in that 4 to 7 range, kind of like they were last year. That's where I projected them. I assume that they will get back to that, win some games in a row here. The last section of our show, assuming you guys good with the Celtics stuff? Are we...
I wanted to say one thing to you. We brought this up earlier. It was, notice how like everyone that's been shooting bad, so like Dame, Booker, Beal, Tatum, all played in the Olympics.
Drew Holiday's hurt.
Drew Holiday's hurt. Middleton's hurt.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that has
we wanted
contributed to them shooting bad, or is it like
a way shorter off season, traveling over there, things like that? Do you think as a hooper having that weird off season, maybe you rested closer to the season? Like, a guy would normally, 60 days or 45 days before the season really start kicking it up more, but maybe they only did 30 now. And so do you think that would impact a hooper a lot?
I mean, it's tough. It's a hypothetical, but I feel like, there's a trending pattern from what you just said. So it's pretty believable for me. They have a short off season, they're coming off having to go everywhere. I feel like it definitely may have affected them. You can see from how hard these NBA guys work. You need an off season. You can't not, the bubble to last season type of thing. You need time to, get your body back to where it is.
You need a few months to relax. Then you need a few months to really work hard and try to find a couple skills, and they just didn't really have that.
I feel like it's really important to, be really working hard, going straight into the season, get right into your rhythm. No time, because I feel like, Celtics are 2-5. You can easily tell that the rhythm is just not there right now. They got a new coach. I say you give them, 2 weeks, they'll be good.
Give them some time.
Yeah, I know. You're talking about the Olympic players, I feel like it's definitely tough because, I mean, we have no idea. You know, you don't understand what it's like in the NBA offseason.
Or even we don't understand. We know what it's like to play in an AAU tournament or a club tournament. But we don't know what it's like to go play in the Olympics where it's 5 games in 8 days or whatever it was. You know,
and all the travel.
The highest level possible. You're playing against dudes who are playing for their country. They're not just playing in the Boys and Girls Club or whatever. You know, like we don't know the toll that it takes on your body to play in an NBA championship game, do the parade, and then get on a flight to Tokyo, and then play 5 of the highest level games just after playing 6 NBA Finals games. You know, we don't know any of that, and so that might just be a guy like Drew Holiday might just need a month of this season to really work back into shape because he was guarding, a top 3 or 4 point guard in the NBA right now for 6 straight nights, full court for 40 minutes a night, So I do think that they need some time to get back, and Tatum will resume back to where he was.
Yeah.
Okay, so now to the last segment of the show. Now that we got all the Celtics stuff worked out, we've really talked through all their stuff. We're going to do a fun segment. It's our first time doing this. I'm going to name something. I came up with this list. They've never seen the list. I'm going to name something. First, we start with about 10 basketball terms or players or coaches, teams, things like that. And it's overrated, underrated, or rated just right by what you think the media and the broad range of people see it as. When you think of them. And I purposely put a couple ones in here that I wanted to spark a conversation with. And then we got some fun ones, some food, some rappers, we have a golfer. Things like that, candies, stuff like that. First, we have Jalen Brown. Overrated, underrated, or just right today?
It's tough because, Tatum he's kind of in Tatum's shadow. But, I wouldn't say I think he's overrated or underrated. I feel like he might just be just right. Yeah. He's really grown into the role we need him to, averaging around 25 a game.
Yeah.
I feel like he gets his respect. People are starting to respect what he does. And I feel like not a lot of people, talk down about Jalen Brown. I feel like he's in a good spot right now, and I wouldn't say that he's overrated or underrated.
What about you?
I'm gonna say underrated because at the start of the season he had 46 points in game 1.
Yeah.
And didn't really get much attention, but oh my God, LaMelo had 27 points.
I feel like that's more of a media thing. You know what I mean? It's tough.
I think if you really watch basketball, he's rated just fine.
Yeah.
But by the general public, he's underrated.
So this is why I put him on here, and a lot of these guys a lot of the things on this list are like this. I think 18 months ago, Jalen Brown was criminally underrated.
Yeah.
I think he was underrated, but now today, this very moment, I think he's rated fine. That's my take.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose is the next one. Right now. So my take on this, I'll start, is right now he's so underrated. Yeah. He's easily in a 6th Man of the Year candidate spot, but he does have the most overrated career of any player. Yeah. Right now he's underrated, but his MVP, he has one of the worst MVP seasons in history. He was a very exciting player, and all that, but his prime wasn't very long. He's the what-if player.
Yep.
So he's a little overrated to me. People have him, ranked above guys like Westbrook I've seen on some stuff, and it's all time, not even close for me. But Derrick Rose, great prime, things like that, overrated career, but right now as a player, he's underrated.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. So career-wise, I know what you mean. People wanted Derrick Rose to be the guy, and it's tough when someone has an injury like that. No one wanted to see it. Derrick Rose is one of the most loved guys in the NBA. So I feel like career-wise, yes, overrated. I feel like right now, I feel like he's very underrated. Yeah. He does great things for the Knicks. He showed in one of those preseason games. How many points did he have?
He's getting anywhere, his good nights, he's having 18 to 25, and so preseason, I know he had a game in the 20s, and he's looking awesome so far.
Yeah, no, I love what he does. I love what he's done always. He gets to the basket. He's just a great player, and I feel like to have him coming off your bench and to do what he's doing right now, I feel like the Knicks are going to win a lot of games, so I feel like he's very underrated.
Yeah, I agree with everything that they've said. He's very underrated as a player right now, but his career is massively overrated.
Yeah, terribly.
But to see the way that he's changed his game and how he plays now, I think is greatly underrated, especially on one of the deeper teams in the league in the Knicks, and was kind of the best player against the Hawks in that series. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't brought up at all.
Yeah. Okay. Next, I got Russell Westbrook. Right now, is Russell Westbrook overrated, underrated, or just right?
So it's tough for me because I feel like there's a lot of disrespect on Russell Westbrook's name right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, within the last 5 years, right? MVPs, triple-double, all that, And people talk a lot about that, and I feel like that time maybe a little overrated, But right now, it's tough because he does do a lot of great things, right? He's on a new team. So it's like you can't be like, okay, well, look at Russ when he was on OKC, look at his numbers. Look what he was doing. Yeah. Okay? He's on the Lakers. And you get Bron, so it's tough because it's like you have a great player like that.
Bron has the ball a lot.
He should make you play better. But it's just like, I feel like right now he's a little underrated because he's struggling. Yeah. You can't deny that. Yeah. But there's just so much talk about, like, okay, he can't shoot. He's turning the ball over, like, all this. And I feel like he's going to pick it up. Where the Lakers are going to win a lot of games this year. They're 100% a finals contender. Yeah. No doubt in my mind. They struggle, but, it's the Lakers. They have LeBron James.
Yeah.
So
I think he's kind of perfectly rated because there's a good amount for each side of, like, hating on him and liking him because he had, like, one of the worst jumpers that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Clanking it off the top of the backboard. But then, like...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Had a quadruple-double with turnovers, stuff like that. But also, like, in the game, like, LeBron didn't play. He was great, like, 33, 10, and 7. But I think he's perfectly rated right now. We'll see how he does with LeBron out for this next week, at least. And I know there's a meme with him. It's like, this is the worst player in the NBA.
For this calendar.
This time of the season. Oh, this is the greatest player in NBA history, and then playoff time, and it's just someone like with a very sad face. So, like, will that continue? Don't know.
Yeah. So my take on this, I think Russell Westbrook a month ago was severely overrated.
Yeah.
People, like, big three this, big three that. They're easily the finals contender. And the whole time I was saying, this team's going to take months to work out and fit.
Yep.
I think a couple months ago, people were acting like you just added prime Steph Curry to the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? With all the photoshops and all of the hype coming from media. But right now, I think he's, like, pretty good, like, rated pretty well among media. He's had some good games, some bad games. He's liked, hated, right in the middle. But a month ago, people were talking crazy about the Lakers, and they have 8 all-stars on one team. And
I feel like it's tough with them too because he's always kind of been a sporadic player.
Yeah.
He'll have a game where he scores, 46, 12, and 12, and you'll see a shot that game where he, like, he'll smoke a layup or something like that. Yeah. It's like, all right, well, like, is he is he really, like, is he legit? Yeah. And it's like, he's been like that his whole career, but I feel like for him is, he'll do that, but the intensity he brings on every play, it kind of levels out. It's kind of like Marcus Smart, but if Marcus Smart was putting up triple-doubles type of thing, he just brings a different kind of intensity. He can hype a team up. I feel like for the whole package, what you're talking about, Russell Westbrook, I feel like, he'll be there, and he'll be a great asset to them.
Yep. Next, I got the Bulls. So let's go a little quicker now. So I got the Chicago Bulls. With the media, are they overrated, underrated, or rated just right, Jeff?
I think they're rated just fine. They're a great team, better than everyone thought, but they do have some flaws. People are acting like they're the greatest team ever. Yeah. But they do have some flaws for sure. And then losing Patrick Williams is tough, but I think they're perfectly rated right now.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say they're rated just right. I mean, it's tough because obviously people are making them look like they're like the 1996 Bulls.
Yeah.
But it's tough because I really like them. DeRozan's been unbelievable.
Yeah, love DeRozan.
LaVine is gonna keep growing into a superstar. Lonzo, Lonzo will be Lonzo.
Yep.
Vucevic, great center. I feel like they are a great team, and it would be tough for me to say they're overrated because I really like them. But then again, the way the media treats them, it's tough. But I'm gonna say just right because I really like them.
Yeah. So, like I said a month ago, it's funny how 1 month can change your mindset. A month ago, I would have said they're the most overrated team in the history of the NBA. Like, oh my gosh, or whatever. But after watching them play and them meshing way better than I thought they would on offense and things like that, this team is rated just fine. Next, we got Brandon Ingram. And I'm going to start this off. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league still. His demeanor, he just keeps calm and cool. He's not in a winning situation right now.
Yeah.
But him and Zion could be one of the best duos in the NBA in the future if that stuck together, and they stayed together. What do you guys think?
I think Ingram's a great scorer. I feel like he leads a team great too, scoring wise, all that stuff. I really like him. I would say he's also underrated. He does a lot of great things for them. And when you have someone like that who can stay poised and with a losing team and be willing to build with them, I think it's great. And I do think he's underrated.
Yeah, I think he's underrated as well. He's their go-to guy in the clutch. It just isn't in a great situation right now with no Zion and everything, so it's kind of being put all on him. And he's been underrated since he got to the Pelicans. So, yeah, I'm going to say underrated.
Okay, next I got Tyler Hero, and I threw this one in here because of you. We've been talking a lot about Tyler Hero around here, and I think that he is perfectly rated now. I think last year he had a year where I would have said he was overrated because people blew him up after the bubble. I wouldn't say he's necessarily underrated because we've been covering him a ton. We've been watching a lot of stuff. Obviously, he had that quote where he thinks he's deserves to be in that talk with Luka. He's proving it with his play. I think he's rated fine for now.
Yeah. My big thing with Hero is I feel like he has a large following. A lot of people love Hero.
Yes. Yep.
So it's tough because those kids will make him seem like he's almost Devin Booker type.
Yeah.
Of thing. It's like, bro, you know what I mean?
No, I feel that.
I don't know. I really like what he's done so far this season. I mean, his first couple seasons. First season he was great. He did great things for them. Last season struggled. So it's tough, but I feel like he's just getting back into the role where, he gets his respect. He's always had it. And I feel like he's earning it now. He's playing really good right now. I feel like I would say he's just right now.
Yep.
Yeah, they pretty much cover everything I was about to say about him.
Yeah. Okay, we'll let you start with this one then, Jeff. Scottie Pippen. Is he overrated, underrated, or just right in all-time rankings and talks?
Massively underrated. People act like he was a sidekick, which obviously he was. But he made All-NBA first team 4 years in a row, and people forget that. He was guarding the team's best player. He is underrated as a player. Now that he's retired of 20 years, he's gone out and said some questionable things. But not even just about the MJ stuff, but talking about the game now or whatever. But I think he's massively underrated.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen to me, I've seen things. Obviously, we follow a guy on Twitter who was comparing Scottie Pippen's shot creation and things like that to T-Mac and Carmelo Anthony and guys like that who played the three position. KD, Paul George. He's not the shot creator those guys were, but every other facet of the game, he was elite. He was an elite passer, elite defender, elite teammate. That is one of the most underrated things you can be in all-time rankings. He was probably the most unselfish number 2 option ever, in terms of the contract he was making, all that stuff. So I got underrated for Scottie Pippen.
Yeah. So Scottie Pippen, it's tough because, we had MJ. So it's really tough to
It's
say
tough
what
to
he
rank
could have
him
been.
because the 6 titles, you have to use it on his resume.
Well, you have to respect everything he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he's arguably the best defensive small forward of all time.
Yeah.
The all defense, all NBA.
All NBA stuff was crazy.
All NBA. Yeah, with Jordan.
Yeah.
He obviously was a great asset for that team. I feel like he is underrated, because people are always going to have that disrespect on him because, people talk about him like he was this, but there was Jordan. Yeah. So it's and he wasn't even the number 1 player on his team, so how could he be this?
Yeah, yeah.
But, that's you throw Kevin Durant on a team with LeBron, and who's the second guy? Are they really not what they could be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. He's a great defensive player. He showed that his whole career. He's a great scorer, too. He could do everything. And I think there's a reason they won 6 chips. Jordan can't do that himself, so I think he is underrated.
Okay, we got 2 more basketball ones. One, this is going to get controversial. Greg Popovich. I'll let you start, Jeff.
I'm going to be crazy and say overrated. He had David Robinson, who's an all-time great big. Had Tim Duncan, who's a top 10 player of all time. It kind of just felt like, obviously, everything was perfect, and he was a part of that, coaching them. But, the way since Tim Duncan's retired, it just felt like he doesn't. Like he's gonna get his teams to play hard, but like.
And then Kawhi doing the whole Kawhi thing and leaving was also tough. Like if Kawhi was still there, we might be having a different convo about it. But
I say overrated just because he's had like one of the greatest group of players to come through
in like a 25-year period. He's had like 5 first-team All-NBAers or something crazy, and it's just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's tough because he's been around for so long, and I feel like a guy that's been around that long needs his respect.
Yeah. No.
And
for
he's 100% got it, no doubt. He coaches the Olympic teams. He's always around, and I mean, I don't know if I'd go as far to say he is overrated, even though I respect your points. I'd say he's just right. He's always had his respect. He's won titles.
Yeah.
He's had these great players, but great players get better because of coaches, and I think he also, what he preaches, what they do, has they build off who they have.
For sure.
Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu, like that era, they played great as a team, and I feel like you have to put some respect on his name for that.
For sure.
So I feel like his whole career, he's been a great coach, and I feel like I'd say he's just right.
I've been at such a weird I always argue with myself, and I'm always like thinking about this question is like, how much does coaching matter in the NBA? Yeah. I think it really does matter a lot. Like you see teams like the Warriors hire Steve Kerr, win a title, things like that. We saw Coach Lue last year for the Clippers, all the adjustments he made. He took that team way further than they should have went without Kawhi.
Yep.
And things like that. I think coaching really does matter, so I'm going to go right, like, perfect. I don't think he's underrated because he does get his respect. He's, like you said, coaching the Olympic team and things like that. Yep. So I think Popovich is right where he needs to be, but I wanted to bring him up as this overrated, underrated, because he has had some of the best talent of any coach other than Phil Jackson.
Yep.
Really. Yeah. Like, most talent of any coach. Last basketball thing is a jelly layup. Is it overrated, underrated, or just right?
In terms of...
Watching
the game of basketball or watching it?
So this is where I put this on here. So a jelly layup, if you don't know, so when you go up and you do some sort of like spin off the glass, but you like take it back, or you like, you do something like cool where you like spin it. It's not like a Kyrie spin though. Like Kyrie will like practically spin it. It's like an impractical use of it where you like throw it way out off the thing. Now overrated. It's overrated for me in the game of basketball, but for me, it's underrated in how it is hard to do. It's hard to nail those, like where you go up on this side around and spin it and stuff. So I just wanted to ask you guys what you thought about that, like a quick one. Overrated, underrated?
I'm going to say perfectly rated because people treat it, it's like, oh, why you do this? But like dunks are kind of like a 360 windmill dunk is cool to look at. That's cool to look at.
Yeah.
It is unpractical, but I think it's perfectly rated.
Yeah.
I feel like it could go either way for me. It's if you can do it, it's great because you can get into situations where you're in the paint and you got a big guy and you're
go
like,
up,
right.
he comes up, and then you go to the other side.
If you can do it, it's great. I feel like, to be honest, it's more of like that'll look cool on my mixtape type of thing.
Yeah.
So, the game of basketball, overrated for me. Kyrie has his own I wouldn't say he's a jelly kind of guy.
Yeah, it's more practical, but
the way he finishes is honestly I've never seen anyone do it before. I think he has one of the best layup packages.
The angles, the weird angles where he throws
can just
it off
move his body. He can adjust anywhere.
The dexterity.
Yeah, I feel like for me, jelly layups are more of a thing where you're coming down on a fast break, you see someone coming at you, and you're like, I'm gonna lay it on him. It's all about how it looks.
Yeah,
it's less about scoring the basketball. It's not the most efficient way, so I'd say it's overrated.
Okay, so for some of the fun ones now, so we got some food, and we're starting with chocolate ice cream. Overrated, underrated, or just right?
Overrated, bottom tier ice cream.
What do you think?
I've never been a fan of chocolate ice cream. I love chocolate, so to take it and put into an ice cream flavor and not be what I thought it could be, the whole life I've never liked it. I'm
standing up for this one. Underrated. No. It is underrated. Chocolate ice cream is so good. It is one of my favorites. Am I weird for that?
No, a bunch of other ones. So your opinion's invalid.
What? I can have all of the basic ones. Obviously, the cookies and cream I can't have because the gluten allergy and things like that. But like chocolate ice cream, bro.
Well, if you're including like 4 basic.
Okay, then how about this? Okay. Chocolate milk. Chocolate milk.
Okay, chocolate.
What is chocolate milk? That is
so
rated just fine because people love chocolate milk.
Yeah, it's tough because people love chocolate ice cream and love chocolate milk.
I've heard a lot of hate about chocolate ice cream though, like on Twitter and stuff.
No, so I mean, I like chocolate ice cream. It just wouldn't be my first choice, you know.
No,
and it's a lot of people's first choices. So for me personally, I'd say overrated. But when it comes to chocolate milk, you know, it's tough because you can't say it's underrated.
Yeah.
Because people love it. I'd say it's just right. I love it. Everything about it's great.
What about chocolate milk?
I'm not a big milk guy. I know it's kind of weird. But I think it's perfectly rated.
You ate your cereal without milk, didn't you?
I didn't eat cereal though. So don't
get a load
portray
of this
me
guy.
as just a dry
this
cereal
guy.
eater. I didn't eat that much cereal.
Oh jeez.
Man, that was like, I went through like kind of off topic. I was like that kid that went through like 18-month runs with cereal, where every day, bro, I ate Captain Crunch.
No, yeah.
Not even the
100%.
berries, bro. Just Captain Crunch, just normal.
Yeah.
And then every day, Frosted Flakes for like 18 months. And then every day, I had Lucky Charms for about 18 months, bro.
Way.
Like, I just go on runs with cereal where I have it every single day. We got a golfer, Bryson DeChambeau. Overrated. You're more of the golf guy. Jeff isn't much.
I have no opinion.
So
he's not much of a golf guy.
I do watch a lot of golf, and so for me it's tough because you know he gets a lot of hate, he gets a lot of love. He's one of those guys. I feel like what he did for the game of golf is great. You know, like he brought a whole nother aspect of like.
It's like analytics in basketball.
Yeah, it's like
changes the way
it's kind of like for me. It's a tough, you know, you can't really relate it, but for me, it's kind of like when Curry started shooting shots like he did.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, are we supposed to do that?
And then, like, 4 years from now, we might know if it's good or bad.
So, you know, DeChambeau, he was, like, the #1 golfer, I think, out of high school or something like that. You know,
had a good college
he's a
career
great
at
golfer. He revolutionized the game. I mean, right now, because people talk so much about, like, you know, he complains this, that. I think as a golfer, he's underrated.
Me too.
Just because it's tough because people said he was #1 in the world, you know, for a while.
Yeah.
And you hate to say someone like that's underrated, especially since they didn't win a ton last year. But I think what he did for the game of golf is extremely underrated, and people talk down about it a lot.
So, A Boogie, we got a rapper. A Boogie, what do you think, Jeff? Overrated, underrated, or just right?
Just right. I think if you're just a casual fan, like you enjoy his hits, but you're not gonna like dive deep into it. I don't see like a whole ton of hate. I don't see a whole lot of like love or anything.
So the reason I put this on there is because on TikTok today, I saw this guy and his friend were sitting next to each other and they did their top 10 rappers, and A Boogie was 2 and 1 for them. So I put this on here.
Top 10 rappers all time?
Like right now. And
right now.
A Boogie, that's overrated for me, but like the way that I think everyone sees him, he's like just right for me.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a huge A Boogie fan. I love all of his stuff. You know, I'm also a huge older music type of guy.
Yeah.
So you could ask me something about an album just dropped, probably couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But if you asked me about, you know, what was on his album Artist, I could, you know, tell you all my songs I like, you know. Those are the songs I listen to. And it's tough to talk about what someone did, you know, back in 2016, 2018, stuff like that. But, you know, a lot of people say that, you know, he, like, somewhat gave birth to, like, guys like Lil TJ and stuff like that, just the way that they...
And New York, they're all...
So, I feel like, you know, you just said someone had him ranked 1 and 2. Obviously, no. For me, like, I love him.
Yeah.
But I feel like what the general public says about him, I feel like he is underrated because so I listen to a lot of his stuff and I feel like I see a lot of him in what people do today, and I feel like for the whole rap game, you know, he's been great, and I feel like he'll always be great.
Okay, so we got some more food here. Sushi. What do you think? Sushi, overrated, underrated, or just right?
All right, I'm not a huge fish guy, but there is, like, people love it. I know the talk about it's crazy.
Yeah, it's literally
so for
like
me,
crazy,
I'm just gonna say overrated because I'm not a huge fish guy. But, you know.
What about you, Jeff?
Underrated, very good and healthy.
Sushi's very good, but I say it's overrated because people treat it like something that you can eat multiple times a week.
Yeah.
For me, like
I can do that.
Like 1 time a week, it's not a huge like it's filling, but it's not like, I don't know. I always tend to like 2 or 3 hours after sushi need more food.
Yeah.
So It's overrated for me. Mashed potatoes. I put this because I know Jeff hates mashed potatoes.
I hate chunky mashed potatoes.
So underrated, bro.
I can agree with that, though.
I hate the chunky mashed potatoes.
Thanksgiving, I
Smooth
show up.
mashed potatoes, though, is perfectly rated.
I
Put
show
gravy
up.
on top of it, good.
Thanksgiving, I show up, half the plate's mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
And then just everything else.
Chunky mashed potatoes, overrated.
No, I'm going to have to agree with Jersey on this one. I've been, since I was young, you know, I ask my parents what's for dinner, and they say mashed potatoes is involved, I'm instantly hooked.
Fire. It goes
I've
good with
always
everything.
loved it.
Every type of meat goes good with it.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, I gotta say underrated here. It doesn't get enough respect. It's just a great side dish on a dinner.
I'm going to say perfectly rated because chunky is bad.
Okay,
Smooth is good.
Okay.
But I can go for any type, but I know what you're saying about the chunky.
Okay, so I wanted to bring some sneaker stuff into this. So are Jordan sneakers overrated, underrated, or just right? I'll start with this. What you guys think? Because I made the list. I know I'm thinking. I think they're just right because I think that they're overrated in some aspects and underrated. I think the underrated side is like the collectible, like the people who got them in the 90s or got the the first edition of them or the ones game worn and stuff. That is so underrated. Like that you have those. That is an awesome collection. Overrated in the sense that some people will like do anything they can to get a sneaker. And it's like a sneaker, for me, I've always been the player in basketball that I find a sneaker that I like and I buy every single colorway of it and I wear it that whole season or whatever, and that's the way it is. I'm not a type where I have 18 different pairs of basketball shoes and 9 of them have to be Jordans and stuff. So that's why I say it's like rated just right.
Yeah. They're one of the first shoes in basketball.
Yeah, they were ahead of its time for sure.
So it's you have to respect what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like it is really cool how it's turned more from a shoe into a collectible somewhat.
Yeah.
People are like, all right, I really want, this shoe right here. And you'll go on to like all these sites for shoes and, they're crazy expensive. So I get what you're saying on the overrated aspect of that.
Yeah.
That I would never pay. That's also coming from someone who doesn't collect Jordans.
Or never started when I was young, or my dad didn't, or whoever.
I feel like it's a really cool thing, like collecting all the shoes, because it's kind of a piece of history. I feel like to collect those shoes, but I would say just right because people are crazy sneakerheads about them.
Yep. And
then you also get the people who are like, why would I ever spend that money? So I would say just right.
I would say just right. Because obviously there's the classic 1, 3s, 4s, 5s, 11s, stuff like that are just like awesome shoes, but then there's like a bunch of shoes that just kind of look terrible.
Yeah, they're ugly. But
I'm just talking from like a shoe, like a whole Jordan Run standpoint, like they just look awful. And then with the same thing, like that they were saying with like the collectible side of it and stuff like that, I think it's just right. Just because there's so much good, but there's also there's a lot of bad too. So
do you have a favorite or no?
The 11s, I would say.
Yeah.
What are yours?
So I'm trying to. I think. I don't want to mess the name up. I think the Flu Game 11s are my favorite.
Okay. My favorite Jordans are definitely the 13s. What are yours?
I already said the 11s.
11s? You were before? Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. Next, we got Instagram. Is Instagram overrated, underrated? I think it's overrated because I think Twitter's a better platform. I think that there's more news there. It's easier to access, things like that.
Yeah. I'm just going to say just right, just because it's kind of what I grew up on. I've never had any, times where I haven't liked Instagram. It kind of it gives me news on sports, all that stuff. There's obviously going to be stuff where, I can download the NFL app and have specialized, coming in like that. But to go on Instagram and see a catch that just happened in the game,
the highlights
watching,
on Instagram,
it's cool. And I know you can get that anywhere else, but I feel like Instagram does it well, and I wouldn't say they're overrated, underrated.
Yeah, I'd say it's just rated perfectly. I use it a lot, but obviously it can get a bit. Obviously you can keep scrolling or whatever, but I think it's just right.
Yeah. Okay, so now we got some candies and things, some more food, candies. Then the last one is a funny thing with our friend group here. So we got Smarties.
Yeah. I've never been a huge fan. I mean, they're cool. You take them out of the package and you got the little, and they've always been I've been eating them my whole life. But I mean, I would say they're just right. I don't hear any crazy hype about them because they're not really a snack you go to the store and you buy. It's kind of just someone's got them, you'll eat them. But
what do you got?
Yeah, I would say just right. because, like you just said, like you're not going out and like buy them.
Yeah.
But like if someone has them, then
So underrated. I love Smarties, bro. Like Smarties are my favorite. Sour Patch Kids. Now I'll go first.
Yeah.
They're so overrated. Give me a headache every time I eat like 4 of them because there's just all sugar. The whole thing.
No. I mean, they're like, you know, they're considered by a lot the top rated candy out there. I like them personally, but I agree with you. You know, they're one of those candies I eat, and you know, 30 minutes later, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But
It's terrible.
I feel like, you know, I would probably say they're overrated too, honestly, because people talk about them like they are the best, and you know, they give you that weird stomach headache feeling, and I wouldn't say the taste is really worth getting that.
Yeah.
I would say they're overrated for like the normal ones, but the watermelon ones are underrated.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are better than the original ones, but
100%.
the normal ones are overrated.
Okay, so now we got slushies. What do you think, Jeff?
Overrated.
Slushies are overrated. Yeah, I agree. I hate slushies.
I don't.
It's
hate
like
them.
it's almost worse. Slushies. Okay, so now what's worse? Shaved ice or slushies?
Slushies are worse.
Shaved ice is
Shaved ice.
Terrible,
Shaved
bro.
ice, because
it sinks to the
you
bottom
don't even
every
get any
time.
flavor,
Yeah,
bro. You're just eating the ice, and I mean,
it's terrible.
Slushies are okay for me. A slushie is something like, you know, it's the middle of the summer. You know, I was just playing basketball outside. I stop in at 7-Eleven. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks so good right now. And I'm not gonna ever go in the store and be like, I want a slushie right now.
Yeah.
So I would have to say overrated.
Okay, we got a couple more. Cotton candy.
Oh, I don't know. I like cotton candy. It's kind of one of those things where it's just like,
It's
but
just meh for me.
It doesn't really do anything crazy for me.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle.
I would have to say underrated. It's cool, but
Okay,
spaghetti. This is our last food one. Spaghetti.
With or without meatballs?
Just like
spaghetti pasta.
Any type of
so
spaghetti.
this is the way I grew up eating spaghetti was the noodles and then ground meat inside of the meat sauce.
Okay. Yeah.
In the
Meat
on
sauce
top
is
of
great.
it,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
great.
so that for me is just underrated. Like spaghetti is so good.
There's a lot of things you can do with spaghetti.
I know
too.
people who eat spaghetti where it's just the tomato sauce with the noodles.
That is a terrible idea.
Terrible. But with meat,
okay,
it's
if we're
so
just looking
fire.
at that is just overrated. But if you have something with it, like if you got meatballs or like
then egg, some garlic bread on the side.
yes,
and
then
some of
that's great. But if it's just like the spaghetti and the sauce, it's like
it's terrible.
what the hell? Where's more? Like more stuff along with it.
I would 100% have to say underrated. You know, spaghetti as a whole is so versatile. You can do so much things with it, and I feel like every time I have it, it's good. So it's tough to hate on that at all.
Okay, last one. So we got in a big friend group, like just like a funny argument today because we had some friends that were trying to convince me to go to the movie theater to watch a movie that I don't like. When I think movie theaters are kind of like a scam or whatever because it's just so like. Yeah, they'll give you like a little deal to go watch the movie, but then it's like the popcorn's $11, and it's like I want to enjoy it. I want to go and like I want to sit here and drink a soda and eat something while I watch a movie. You know, I don't want to like go in or whatever, and I want the popcorn and stuff. So I think movie theaters are overrated, personally.
No, yeah.
Overrated.
Okay.
All the movies end up coming out in a month later, anyways. It doesn't.
Yeah. No. So I've switched since I was younger. You know, when I was younger, going to the movie theater.
Yeah.
You know, getting your pop. Another thing about when you're younger is you usually don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now it's not.
when you
It's not a financial decision. A good financial.
When you go and you have to pay $10 for the ticket, and then you're like, all right, dude, I'm not sitting here not having a drink or anything to eat.
You have to have something
to
with
get a
you.
drink and
3-hour
popcorn.
And then you're paying $30.
And you're looking at least $20 for that.
You can go golf for the same price you can go watch a movie.
And I enjoy that a lot more. So
maybe even cheaper too.
And I've grown into someone who like if you want to watch a movie, bro, like let's just set it up in the room.
Yeah.
And let's just get comfortable.
Or a classic.
Get our own snacks, you know.
Funny classic movie or something.
Why would I spend $15 on that when I can get it for $1 and sit down in the comfort of my own, you know, area? So I'd say overrated.
I would say going like if you're just going to the movie theater and watching a movie with like it's weird to say like without a drink and popcorn.
Yeah.
It's perfectly rated because I love the experience of being in a movie theater and seeing something like new and like on the big screen and stuff. But like just having to pay now that like we have to pay now, like when I'm a kid, it's great.
Every
gotta
weekend, let's go to the
anything.
movie theater. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then your parents are like, no, we can only go like every once in a while because it is so damn expensive, and then you don't get it. And then now we're
it
like,
used to kind of be like
well, shit,
a little treat you got. That was fun when you did it.
Or some classic is coming out that the sequel to a movie that your parents liked when they were younger, type of thing.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, so we hope you guys liked episode 4. It ran really long, but there was a lot of fun stuff to talk about, and we tried to add in a fun segment at the end. So we'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe, leave us some comments, and we appreciate the clicks and the watches and all the support you guys have given us so far. And look at the link in the description about our TikTok, because we started that this week too. So appreciate it. Bye-bye.